would just flock to her hotel, and she would show me images. She's like, we're not going to get out of here. All the roads are closed. And
But obviously, thank God you did.
we
we found a
I
way
almost
out.
lost
And
not only my family, but my entire staff.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And Gracie, who just got her CPA license, is a brand new assistant at EG Tech. So I would have been
SOL.
family-less and employee-less, just
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah.
Oh, well, thank God for
and,
that.
and thank God for all the volunteers and all the people giving money and all the people donating food. I know later on today, Chris and I are going to go drop some food off to a guy in Lockport who keeps doing runs out to North Carolina, which
It is so serious. It's so serious.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to talk. We want to talk about money and finances, but I wanted to give that because it was unbelievable. Now, for those of you that have signed up for our tax school, we still do have one class still available. And that'll be our next will be our Saturday class, and you still have this week to register for that. And then the next class that we'll have, it won't be until 2025 at the beginning of the year. So if you're interested in going to tax school, we still have one class open, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is I wanted to tell people is, as when you hear that the Federal Reserve is lowering the interest rates, that means that banks are going to follow suit and they're going to lower the interest that they're paying you on CDs. So I thought it would be important for you to know if you're somebody that's got money and you don't have it tied up in a CD, I'm going to tell you, you could be looking at 2-3% less rates in the next few months. So in the meantime, you can still get 5.25% at Open Bank. You can get 5.05% at Everbank. At BMO, you can get 4%, and this is a 5-year CD. At Barclays Bank, you can still get 5% on a 6-month CD. And at Human Credit Union, which is really interesting, Human Credit Union, they have a 10-year CD at 3.5%. For 10 years. So wanted to make sure I passed that along to everybody so that you get these things tied up, because if you could do a 5-year CD, you might be just sitting pretty here, because if interest rates go back down to 1% or below, you'll look like a very smart person.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, because there's talk about them doing another cut, 0.25%, right?
Well, but then the interest, but then the unemployment rate went down, and so they're talking about maybe not giving that whole big thing. So something we will look forward to keeping you informed. The other thing is, if you wanted to go to the Ready, Set, Retire seminar, that's going to be November the 9th, and you would register at the Financial Guys, right?
correct, thefinancialguys.com. They'll have a link right up on their website. You can give us a call too at our office, and we'll pass the information on. So
Right.
we'll get you registered.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure I talked about the Ready, Set, Retire seminar, the interest rates, the tax school. Before we get into things that, as a retiree, things that you might want to look at, wanted to talk about I know the weather's been great, but you know what's coming. What's coming? Winter's coming.
Winter.
And I can tell you, I'll take a blizzard. I will
compared
take
to-
a blizzard compared to a hurricane.
It's interesting. A good friend of mine that lives in Florida called up and said, after being in Florida for a while and being in Buffalo, give me 10 blizzards compared to one hurricane. Right?
Yep.
It's true, because they don't mess around. Hurricanes. Okay, so want to talk about because winter's coming. You may be interested in having your home kind of winterized, and if you do that, you'll qualify for energy credits. So I wanted to talk about the energy credits. Who qualifies? You have to have a personal home located in the United States, and you have to improve or add on to an existing personal home in order for it to qualify for the energy credits. The other thing is these energy credits are non-refundable. What does that mean?
That means that it goes to eat up a tax bill, so you have to have a tax liability. So if you're somebody who doesn't pay any taxes or doesn't have to file, don't shoot yourself in the foot thinking you're going to get a credit that you're not going to get.
Right. You can do this stuff to your home, and that's all well and good, but you're not going to get the energy credits. So you want to make sure that if you are doing this and you have some type of income that is going to be taxable later, like maybe an IRA, or an annuity that you've been deferring, if you take that money out or part of it out, then and you had a liability, then it can be offset by these energy credits. And if you call EG Tax, we will work with you to tell you how much you should take out and how much your energy credits are going to be. So we're going to talk about that. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. I'm going to take the call from Tracy, then we're going to break for a short break after that. But Tracy, how can we help you?
Hi, yes. Question about some renovations I did to my home just this past summer. I converted my garage wholly into what I would refer to as a dorm room to rent out. I spent about $15,000 on those renovations and will get $350 a month in sort of rent, if you want to call it that. I don't know how the semantics would be involved. Clearly,
you're renting it out. You're giving space to somebody in exchange for money.
Yes, so that's the legal definition.
And it's not a family member. This is a non-related person, right?
That is correct.
And you're renting it at what would be considered a fair market value, right?
I don't know if it is $350 a month. I don't know if that's fair market value or not.
Well, I think you might want to call a realtor, but if it's a little efficiency apartment, $350 might be fair. You want to make sure you're charging fair market value, otherwise you can't take any deductions. So, all right, so we're going to take a short break. Tracy, don't hang up. We're going to talk to you after the break, and we'll tell Tracy what to do to make this deductible. So I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We'll talk to you and Tracy on the other side. Hey, we are family. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady, and we're talking to Tracy, who has converted her garage or part of her garage into kind of a
Dorm room, she said.
rental, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So the thing is, Tracy, you got to be renting it out at fair market value. So you want to make sure you talk with the realtor to find out what fair market value would be. And it's a legal rental, correct?
Yikes! What does that mean? How do you define a legal rental?
I mean, it was approved by the state. You're not in violation, right?
I mean, I wouldn't think so, not to my knowledge.
Well, you might want to check with your building department. Did you get a building permit?
No, because it was all contained within a structure.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that you call the building department in the city that you're from and make sure that it's a legal resident, because if it's not legal, then you kind of got a problem. You really aren't going to be able to rent it out.
I see. Okay.
Now, may I ask what city it's in?
Williamsville.
Okay. I mean, because they're pretty tough in Williamsville. You don't want to do anything that would be illegal, and you certainly, and I'll tell you why. For the $350 that you get in rent, if your tenant falls down getting out of their car, if they hurt themselves, if there's a fire structure and you're illegal, I'm going to tell you what you can do, what can happen to you if somebody comes after you legally is never going to be worth $350.
I see. Okay.
So
But-
I don't know what
but
I
to
don't know
answer-
what
But
it
to
would
answer your
cost.
question, yeah, go on, Chris.
To answer your original question, what you would do is you would take the percentage of that room, okay, against the house, and then so part of that percentage, your electric bill, you would be able to write off, the gas bill, the water, the property taxes, if you're still paying mortgage interest, all that would be able to use to help offset that rent
And depreciation.
and depreciation.
And
But
so
again, assuming that it's all kosher.
And then that $15,000 that you spent to get the house ready, you could also depreciate that over the 27 and a half years. And I got to tell you, Tracy, Esther has a friend in Florida, and she just lost a job. And Esther, after she dots her I's and crosses her T's, gave her the same suggestion to rent out a room in her house. So smart thinking.
And she
Yes.
also would be able to take the existing structure. But in Tracy's situation, she wants to make sure that it's a legal situation.
Okay. So I have
Okay.
to check with the town about
I would check with the
renting out
town
a
and
room.
find out if they have to come out and inspect it. Make sure you have liability insurance on it too.
Insurance.
Right.
Yeah, take a
right.
You
rider
want
out.
you want to protect yourself. And I might, if I would suggest, I know this sounds like I'm really crazy, but we live in a very litigious society. I might run it by my attorney as well.
Oh, jeepers. We're adding up the stress here.
No, but you know what? What could be worse than a month from now having somebody say, I broke my leg and you don't have insurance and this is illegal and they're suing you. You don't want that. So it's worth it to do it before you have your tenant.
Yep.
That's
Everybody
my
knock on
opinion.
wood, please.
But you're the boss.
Yeah.
That's my
Knocking
opinion.
on wood.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
thanks
you
for your
got-
help.
you
All right,
got
good luck,
this.
Tracy.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, you guys got to admit, you know how things can escalate
Yeah.
if you aren't doing things correctly,
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, we have a text.
We do. So the text says, Tax Lady, great show. In reviewing my wife's work history, she has a 0 in the middle of her short career, and that's not correct. How can I get it corrected? It's back from 1982.
Well, you would contact Social Security, and unfortunately, you're going to have to prove that she had that income, that she was actually working back in '82, and that there was Social Security taxes paid. So you're just going to have to contact Social Security to let them know. But the thing is, in your behalf, you're going to find out in '82 she probably wasn't making much money, and so the Social Security that she would have contributed would be very, very, very small, especially if she's working part-time. So it's probably not going to impact or minorly impact the amount of Social Security that she's going to get. Plus, if she really didn't work and she's going to be piggybacking off of your Social Security when you start collecting, she's going to get half of yours anyway. So they're going to say hers or yours, whichever is, or half of yours, whichever is greater. So I think you're going to find out that probably half of yours is better. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then we got another text here, right?
We do. Very good response. Yeah. And so if they need help with their Social Security, to call our office and maybe we can help them navigate it. I heard areas of North Carolina that flooded happen to be areas with lithium stores, third largest in the world, also quartz. FEMA is telling folks not to send help to individuals or local churches, rather send money to FEMA. Also, many in mountain towns have no flood insurance, as it is anonymous. What's that word? As it wouldn't need flood insurance because they're in the mountains, and so
Right.
very sad situation. They said, "Thank God you guys are home safe. $750 for victims would maybe buy a front door." Totally illegal in the village of North Collins. I think they're talking about the rental now. Somebody else.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah, right. Well, only because
But-
and
but-
I mean, when people call me, I want to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
I don't want to sugarcoat it or anything like that.
But I gotta
think-
say,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry to step on you. That when Chris and I were driving, I'm like, I bet you so many of these people don't have flood insurance. I remember Chris and I in our second house, we had to get flood insurance in Clarence, but there's probably lots of people who don't have flood insurance, as this texter said.
Well, remember, the only flood insurance maximum that they're going to reimburse is $250,000 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, it was more like the mountains fell in on them. It was
Yeah.
just so
Right. I
terrible.
mean, and
but
that's-
yes, I would say to give to your local charity that you know where it's going, as opposed to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, because you want the money to go directly to some of these poor people. I'll tell you, 8 Days of Hope, which is a charity out of Western New York, is a phenomenal opportunity, is a phenomenal agency to give the money to. Those guys go out and they will do hand-to-hand combat with trees and garbage and Life and Limb, and 8 Days of Hope would be a great one. Obviously, Samaritan's Purse as well.
What were you going to
Yep,
say,
yep.
Chris?
I heard interviews for both. I know we know Steve Tybor, who does
Right.
8 Days of Hope. He was interviewed, and he's had trailers and trailers and heavy equipment going down. Same thing with Sawyer's Ministry.
And now get this. So with this disaster that happened in the hurricane, and by the way, another hurricane is coming this next week on Florida. But with this thing that just happened, the federal government has extended the deadline to file your tax return if you live in these disaster-prone areas. There's a whole bunch of them, by the way, till May the 1st. So they extended it by 15 days.
Right. And, you know, one thing I want to say, too, is, and you could attest to it, check with your insurance company. See what you're actually covered for. Because insurance companies look for any loopholes not to cover you. And I know one of our old insurance gentlemen had us get a water backup. It was $25 a year to get this, but it would cover if your sub pump went down. And you would think your homeowner's insurance would cover it, but it wouldn't. But I know, like with the big hurricane that went through New Orleans, Katrina, you know, they're saying, well, it wasn't hurricane, it was flood insurance. So if you didn't have...
But that's exactly what happens. They say, no, it wasn't a hurricane, it wasn't wind, it wasn't rain, it was flood, and it's true. So in that case, I think it's well worth it to get a public adjuster to help you to navigate that. Okay, but now we were talking back at the beginning of the show about energy credits, about what qualifies. And so the things that qualify, it's a 30% credit. Again, you got to have a liability on the qualifying items. They have to have an expected life expectancy of at least 5 years, have to be Energy Star, and they have to exceed the CEE standards. And that would be for central air conditioners, boilers, furnaces, electrical components such as upgraded electrical panels, and these would be $600 for each one of these with a limit of $1,200. Now, heat pumps have to meet the highest CEE standard, and that is going to be a $2,000 credit. Biomass stoves and boilers have to exceed 75% efficiency to get the $2,000 credit. And insulation, which is really the most liberal thing, really, is 30% up to $1,200 per year, and you use the form 5695. And that will be that's a dollar for dollar deduction against your tax liability. And if you're somebody that's looking at solar is 30% of the cost of installing solar panels, equipment, geothermal heat pumps, solar panels, solar hot water heaters, fuel cells, wind turbines, battery storage technology. And then on the state of New York, after you take the 30% credit off the cost, you would get an additional 25% with a maximum of $5,000 for New York State. And this being October, you know, it's going to get chilly here. And so you want to make sure to get ready for the 2024 tax season that you avail yourself of these energy conservations, because they can save you a lot of money. They're not like the old energy credit. They're absolutely great.
Right,
So I'm Esther Gulias, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 716-8030930. We're going to take a short break for the news, and we're going to be back on the other side with your comments, questions, and calls. Hey, to us, you are family. I'm Esther Gulias, the tax lady from EG Tax, and we want to make sure that the last 2.5 months we get you all squared away. I'm going to tell you, I don't care who you're going to vote for in November, but either person is looking at ginormous changes in taxes. So you got to buckle up and put your Pampers on, because boy, when whatever happens, we will let you know. But in the meantime, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady, with Tiffany Fabian, Christopher Fabian, and Chris. You wanted to add something that before the news.
Before, I'm sorry for stepping on both of you guys. I don't even know how Trump would navigate the no tax on overtime. I mean, some of it, the no tax on tips, is just mind-boggling. You know,
Some of this stuff
Talk is cheap.
is so much BS.
That's what I tell people.
It
Talk
is so
cheap.
much BS.
Until
you
we
know.
can hold politicians accountable for their promises,
Yeah,
and
right.
then
I mean,
we might
you know,
see stuff.
they're just, when you know taxes and you listen to these people, you just go, oh my, you know, sometimes I just don't, I just want to stop myself from getting sick in my mouth. You know, it's just disgusting. Anyway, Chris, you want to talk about the energy credit?
Yeah, I want to say to people too, make sure if you're doing windows, you're doing, any of these energy improvements, especially if you're a senior, these are non-refundable credits. Okay, they're the Pac-Man credit, as my wife calls them. They only eat tax liability. So if you're on Social Security and you have a small pension of $1,000 a month, you have no tax liability. So putting windows in your house isn't going to do anything for your tax return. So you might be better off reaching into your IRA and taking more money out so you actually take a benefit and then you're getting tax-free dollars.
Right, because this way, something that would have been taxable down the pike, maybe as an RMD, if you take it out now, and let's say your liability is going to be $3,000 on that, and you have credits of $3,200, it means that your liability is going to be covered by the credits, which makes the most sense. But if you have no liabilities and you do this kind of energy conservation to your house, it is good because it's going to reduce your fuel bill, but it's not good from a tax standpoint. So you want to get a win-win situation if you can. But that's a great point, Chris.
Right, and the same thing goes for e-cars. If you're buying an electric car for the credit, you got to make sure you have the liability to cover that credit.
Right. And that's something people can call us, and we will tell you how much you can take out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
All right, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 716-8030930. Don't forget, extension deadline is in a few days, right?
Yep, it sure is.
October the 15th?
Very busy at the office. Yep, that's right.
Okay. So, and we have somebody from on line one. How can we help you?
Hey, Mike.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Nice to talk with you. I have a question about the insulation you were just talking about for your home. I just put up a building that is an outbuilding from my home, and it's going to have heat in it. And the insulation I'm going to be putting in it is quite expensive. I didn't know if that was tax deductible or if it was just for houses themselves.
All right, it has to be your personal home or an addition to your personal home in which you're going to live.
It's something you're replacing.
An outbuilding, it would not be deductible. Pardon me, Chris?
It would something you're replacing. You're replacing old with new. It can't be a new addition.
Ah, gotcha. And the same for any heating plants or anything in there. None of that is deductible
It's
because
got to
not
be a
part of
place
your-
where it's got to be your personal
Yeah,
residence.
it would have to be attached to your house if it's a
Gotcha.
separate.
Well, it makes sense. I just wanted to be clear on that because.
Well, I'm
I'd
glad
like to
you
see-
called, because I don't want you to harbor under a delusion, you know?
I have enough of those with the elections, like you were saying,
Amen. Amen, Mike.
and it doesn't matter who you vote
Thanks.
for. It's all
I'll-
delusional,
Well,
It's
I'll
all
tell you,
delusion.
I hate political time, you know?
right? Right.
Right. All right, well,
right,
thanks
well,
for calling.
thank you.
I'm Esther
Thank you for
Golias,
doing
the
what you
tax.
do.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mike.
sir. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. Text us at 716-8030930. Okay? All right, so wanted to talk about seniors approaching retirement, things to think about in advance. And probably one of the most important things would be your personal home, because probably that's the largest asset that you have. And one of the things that seniors, as they're getting older, they have a concern about nursing home expense. So something that somebody that has an asset, especially now with houses going up in value, that might be $200,000 or $300,000, might want to think about doing what to their home. You guys,
Putting it into a life estate.
right? So
Yeah.
explain that, and why does that work?
Sure, a life estate. It's not a trust. It's not, it is a separate thing. You're still the owner of the house. You get the benefits. You get the STAR benefits, the enhanced STAR benefits, the veteran benefits, the volunteer firefighter benefits. You get all those benefits on your property taxes. But what it does is it puts your child on the house behind the scenes. And after 5 years of that, the nursing home can't touch the house. So it protects your house. And then as soon as you pass away, bam, it's right in your children's name.
And they would get a stepped-up
And they
basis
still
and not pay taxes.
Correct. They still get that stepped up
So
basis.
it's called a life estate. It is a really great planning tool, especially as you age, and maybe you don't want all of the equity out of your home to go to pay for a nursing home. This way, over a 5-year period, a little more every year is allocated towards your children's ownership, and upon your death, they would get the house in their name. In the meantime, like Chris says, all those benefits that you have is still attached to the house. It's still in your name. And can the kids kick you out of the house?
No.
No.
Nope.
So life estate. Now, what if mom and dad just say at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, we're just going to sign over the deed?
Oh,
No, that's not good because then it's a gift and it goes back to mom and dad's original basis. So you're talking about paying capital gains.
right. Plus, you lose all those tax benefits, the STAR, all those other to reduce your school taxes. It's not your children's primary house, so you'll pay 100% of school tax, possibly even Erie County tax or Niagara County, if you have the low-income senior tax break for that. So, and again, what Tiff said too, with the capital gains, because it goes back to mom and dad's basis, and it's up $300,000. Well, that's going to cost you $45,000 in taxes to the feds, and not to mention New York State as well.
Right, and that would be the children.
Correct.
Would cost them $45,000. But now, one of the benefits of owning a home, though, is if you sell it, the gain on a married filing a joint return would be up to $500,000 would be tax free. So that's another planning tool. If you think that you just want to downsize and get into an apartment, I was talking to Tom Barley the other day, and he's like on the verge, I think, of selling his house and going into an apartment. And even that's, I know, and people think, oh, I don't know if I want to live into an apartment. But if you think about it, you don't have the property taxes, you don't have the large insurance, you don't have to worry about cutting the grass or any of the maintenance. And if you had a $300,000 house and you put it in a bank account with a 5% return, you get $1,500 a month, $15,000 a year in interest to pay, or $1,250, which can go to rent. And it's interesting, in Western New York, we have one of the least expensive markets for renting. So you maybe don't think $1,250 a month is cheap, but if the equity that you took out of the house is paying for it, then you can save like $5,000 or $6,000 in expenses, fixed expenses, by moving into a rental. So that's something to think about. This whole thing is like to prime the pump in your brain.
Right.
I mean, nobody likes change, but sometimes doing change is a good thing.
That's right.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Yep.
All right.
And-
Yes,
I'm sorry.
ma'am. Go on.
If you're going to look into this, like you're saying, ready for a nursing home, make sure you go to an elder care lawyer. Don't go to a general lawyer. Don't go to somebody who does mortgages. Go to an estate lawyer, because that's what they know. That's what they do. Because we've seen people get screwed because they went cheap and what they wanted didn't happen.
Right, because they you kind of get what you pay for, right?
Yep.
Oh, I wanted to mention, statistically, the average rent in Buffalo is $1,131, and that's 28% lower than the rest of the United States.
Wow.
So when I was getting ready to do this, so it's interesting. Sometimes the hardest decision is really nowhere but in your mind. You know, coming to that realization that maybe keeping the big family home isn't a very good idea. Maybe downsizing would make a better decision. So whether you do a life estate or you gift the property to your kids, which I would not suggest you do, the life estate is what you do, or you sell it and you live off of the interest and your downside move into a rental, those are things that maybe you should look at as you age, because nursing homes can be expensive. Now, the problem with selling the house and having that kind of asset around, then the nursing home could take it if you should become somebody that has to go into a nursing home. So a life estate would protect that asset and the money,
Yes.
right? Or we got a text, right?
Yep. Let's say I have a life estate auntie. I am still alive, and one of my kids gets in trouble. Can they go after my house?
Yes, they can.
Yep.
Because technically, as time marches on, more and more of the house becomes theirs. So everything that you do is risk and reward. Like that lovely lady at the beginning of the show, she probably thought she was so smart because she converted part of her garage to a living quarters. But everything's risk and reward, and the risk is it going to be a legal rental? Because it's not good when you are doing things and they're not correct,
Copacetic.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, your kids, you got to make sure your kids are not selling drugs on the corner. That's not a good thing.
Yep.
All right. All right. Other things you might think of as you're retiring is save more, cut your expenses down. Look at moving from cable to streaming. I know that can be such a challenge if you're not electronically savvy, but I think get your kids over. Forget your kids. Bring your grandkids over and have them show you how to operate your smart TV.
Right.
Because you can save, I know myself, I save over $150 a month moving from, I still have internet, but basically all of my TVs I stream. And I don't miss anything.
No, cable is the most expensive monthly bill that I see that people have when I look at an office and home. It's the most expensive, you know?
And you know, the other thing I was looking at, a suggestion on as you age, something you ought to really change if you want to save money. It's called eating out. Because what can be more expensive than eating out, right? Mm-hmm. So again, if you're looking to kind of pad your retirement, and it really takes diligence that you'd want to reduce your expenses, eating out is one of the most expensive things you can do.
Yeah, that's a hard one for
All
some
right.
of us.
Anyway, I'm Esther Gilius, the tax lady. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 716-8030930. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back on the other side.
The bills make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout. Throw your head back and say,
We
"Come
love
on
the
now."
Bills, don't we?
Yes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they made us shout last week.
And tomorrow they're at 1:00, as Chris just reminded me. So tomorrow we'll be happy praising.
Hopefully. Yes.
The Sabres are playing in Prague today and yesterday, which is so cool, you know?
They
That's
didn't do too
interesting.
good. Yes, and we
That's
just missed
interesting.
them.
Oh, that's right. We saw the ice rink that they were
Yeah,
going to be at,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so some other things for retirement planning. Again, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. If you're not working and you're age 62, seriously consider taking your Social Security. Because if you're entitled, and it is true, you're going to take a cut, But when you think about the money that you're leaving on the table, it takes about 18 years to break even. So you break even around age 80. Well, I don't know if you know it, but many of us won't make it to age 80, which means that that money is just left at Social Security, and they won't come to your widow and or widower and give you that money. So simple math, if you could get $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year over a 6-year period. Is $120,000 that you left at Social Security. So seriously consider collecting your Social Security. Now, if you're working, you can still collect full Social Security as long as your wages are like under $23,000, and they're going up every year as well. So you can still collect your full Social Security and your wages, and a pension and your investments, as long as those wages are under that $22,000 figure. There's an exact figure. I can give it to you if you want to call me on Monday. But I'm going to tell you, and then set that money aside for your retirement, because that's money that would have been left at Social Security.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, let's go to Paul. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Esther, how are you?
I'm good. What can we do for you?
So, I just want to make a clarification. You keep saying the nursing homes are getting all the money.
You're right.
That's
You're
really-
right.
That's really not.
You're
That's
right.
really not true. That's not true.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I use that in the
monies-
vernacular.
The monies,
you know.
the monies that we collect go to New York State, and then they pay us a reimbursement, and that reimbursement rate is pennies. I mean, I hate to say, but thousands of dollars short on the services that we serve to the residents.
Right, and
So,
I
it's
apologize,
easy-
Paul, that I use the
It's-
easy way as a descriptor, but it is
Well, you
true.
can't- you
The
can't-
money
you
goes
can't
for
point
the
your finger.
care of the senior.
Right. And I will tell you that the nursing home that I work for, you had a connection with, and I will tell you that we provided the best care, and we fell short every month. We were a not-for-profit nursing home, and we fell short, but we decided to provide the best care in the world to our loved ones. So
And
don't blame the
I
nursing home.
apologize for using the easy descriptor, but you're right. You're caring for the loved ones, but Paul, it's darned expensive. And so when it really falls short, though,
my own mother was in the facility that we have a connection with, and I was ready to check for $15,000 a month.
right?
$15,000 a month. But you know what? The nursing home never saw any of that money. It was transferred to New York State.
Right.
So
And
like,
that's
point the
where people that are elder planning basically want to go on Medicaid to help pay for the cost of nursing care, and then you really fall short.
Sure. And I talked to my parents 7 years ago about transferring money over to myself that I could manage that. And they wouldn't do it. Depression kids,
I
they
know.
saved. They didn't want to give up their money. But I just want to say, and I just want to go online, it's not the nursing homes that get the money. They get the rich. They get all the everything. It's New York State. It's Medicaid and Medicare.
Right.
And they short pay their bills. And they are the ones that we should be pointing our fingers.
All right.
Hey, Paul.
Please accept my apology, because it was just easier to. Most people understand nursing home, but you are right. My mom was in a nursing facility, and they took
I
absolutely
understand
great
where she
care.
was.
Yep.
And I understand where she was.
Yep.
Chris,
Hey, Paul, I got a question for you, and I'm surprised my wife hasn't asked this yet. Because you said you were writing a check for $15,000. That means you were private pay. Did you ever file with the New York return for your mom the $258,
the bed tax.
the bed tax, to get that 6% back?
I did not.
How long ago was that, Paul?
She was in there from, let's see, a year and a half ago. She passed
All right, so
away.
if she was private pay, you have a refund coming for the New York State bed tax. So amend the return, and it's a lot. It's 6%. So if you were paying $15,000 a month, that's $180,000. So the bed tax would be $10,800 that you have a refund coming from New York State.
Well, I guess I'll come and see you, Esther.
Well, thank you, Paul. I would like that, and then I can apologize in person.
You'll have a big cinnamon roll
You
for
don't
him.
have to apologize. I just want to just qualify.
I'm only kidding. Only kidding.
Nursing homes are not the evil ones.
I gotcha. All right, Paul. Thank you. So come in, and we'll get you your money back.
Okay, we got Mary online
We got
too.
Mary. Hey, Mary, how can we help you?
Hi, Esther. How are you today, my love?
I'm good.
What a happy voice.
Oh my gosh, this is kind of confusing. I just turned 65, but I retired a year before because of disability. My job wouldn't let me work anymore. And this is my question. Now that I'm getting, like, I call it the old people SSI retirement money that I
Right.
get to check every month.
Right.
Esther, they gave me $300 extra a month for disability. Do I have to pay taxes on that money?
Are you single or married, Mary?
I'm single. Thank
So
God.
if half of your total Social Security that you received, it added to your other sources of income exceed 25,000, then the excess over 25,000 can be half taxable up to 85%. So it depends on your other sources of income. Do you have a pension? You said you do, right?
Yes, I do.
And how much is your pension?
My pension is $574 a month.
And besides that, any other source of income?
No. But by the way, I made that for working in wiping dupas for 30 years in a nursing home. When I was listening to everybody talking about nursing homes.
That's right. Well,
30
that's
years
a hard.
Well,
that,
thank you
Mary,
for doing
that's
that,
a hard
Mary.
job.
That's a very hard
That's
job.
a hard job. So your income is low enough. So when you include half of your Social Security, I'm assuming your Social Security is like $2,200 a month.
No. I only get now with the 300 added on to my retirement SSI. I'm only getting $1,534 a month
So
now.
it's not going to be taxable. So if you have no other source of income, do you have an IRA that you had contributed to?
No.
Mary,
Okay.
do you own your own house?
No.
Okay,
no.
just making sure there's a
All
property
right. So
credit.
yeah. So
Oh,
you're
I
in
don't.
EPS. You don't have to worry about paying taxes on that money.
Oh my God, Esther. God bless you. Thank you so much.
I hope
right,
you're
thanks,
feeling
Mary.
better.
Thank
Take
you.
good care.
All
Have
right,
a great
and
weekend,
thank you
Esther.
for
You too.
helping all those people
What
in the
a
nursing home.
happy voice. It's
Yeah,
great.
she's a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple other things. Getting ready for retirement. Are you working off of a budget? You know, now you think about Mary. She's got it tight, so she has to watch her P's and Q's. You know.
Yeah, it's so funny. You talked about Gracie a little while ago. And my daughter, Gracie, who's 24 years old, her and her fiance have a budget, and she talks to me about budget. And so it's so beautiful to hear, a 24-year-old saying you got to use a budget,
And another thing is, if you got extra assets laying around you're not using anymore, as you age, the RV sitting in the backyard, kind of molding away, the old boat just sitting back there, turn it into cash.
Yep, that's
You
right.
know, because when you sell those things, it's not going to be taxable because 9 times out of 10, you sold it below what you paid for it, so it's going to be tax free. And you get it out of your backyard, and you can turn it into cash, and you can use it in a rainy day.
That's right.
If you need the best tax help, like we were just going to say, helping Paul, we're going to get him an extra $11,000 back that he didn't know he had coming. EG Tax is there for you. Give EG Tax a call. We'll help you with all your tax situations. We're at egtax.com. Until next week, I'm Esther Golias with Christopher Fabian, Tiffany Fabian, and you. We thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
The previous program was paid for by EG Tax.
Hey, Sal.